So, the Switch 2, right? I mean, let's talk about it. Like, what a disaster. $80 games, it's really just the tip of the iceberg for me. I really feel like the Switch 2 is the perfect example of every single mistake that Nintendo has continuously been making for the past, 8 years. I hate to say it, but it really seems like you can only get worse from here. For context, let's jump all the way back to 2017. When the Switch 1 released, it sold incredibly well because of Nintendo having goodwill with customers. I feel like a lot of people forget what having a Switch all the way back then was like. Because back then, you didn't even need to pay to use the online servers. Sure, there were minor issues at this point, rumblings of Joy-Con drift, but I'm sure nothing bad would ever come out of that, right? It's definitely not a giant issue coming on the horizon. No, let's ignore that. Overall, the Switch on release was super cool. It was awesome. It was like this pocket Wii U for only $300, which just felt really insane back then. But as time went on, Nintendo's continued to encroach on that goodwill that carried them through the first year of the Switch's life. First it was charging for online, which, at that point wasn't a big deal because it was $20 a year, and they threw in NES games with it too, which was pretty nice, You had a pretty big selection. And even later, they added Super Nintendo games without a price increase on the subscription, and that was super nice. Good emulation all around. The only issue is that when compared to Nintendo's previous ways of selling emulated games, is that at the end of the day, you don't own these games. It's just like Xbox Game Pass, except there's no option to permanently buy them. At least on the Wii and the Wii U, virtual console games could be bought for $5. And voila, you own that game. That's your game now. There's no way you can stop paying for the game. They came out with recreations of the original NES and Super NES controllers. And, they were pretty great recreations. But even these were not all good, because to be able to purchase them, you needed to have an active online membership. And, I appreciate the thought behind it, okay? It's supposed to prevent scalpers. But the issue is that it effectively gives these controllers a fake price tag, because you have to add the price of the membership on top of it. Oh, and don't forget shipping, which is going to be ridiculously expensive. In my area, it's about $7. Nintendo saw the insane profits they got on the Switch online subscriptions, and I'm sure some suits working there saw it and had a devious idea. What if we came out with an N64 emulator, right? Okay. But let's not put any effort into making it good. And on top of it, let's double the price of the membership for our shitty emulation. It is far beyond beaten by fans who work for free. And, some people are going to say, what about the other benefits of the expansion pack, like the DLC that comes with it? And to that I say, are you joking? Seriously? What if I, for example, don't own Splatoon 2? Or I don't own Mario Kart? Why does my membership still charge me for things that I literally can't use? Also around this time, Nintendo got comfortable selling complete trash, or reselling old games for not cheaper, but sometimes even more expensive than the original game. I think they saw how well Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold, and were like, well, let's just start reselling Wii U games. Clearly they were fire. And they also trial ran timed exclusives, and people freaked out so badly over it that it seems like they're never going to do it again. But at this point, they might. People buy up whatever they sell. On top of that, Mario 3D All-Stars was mostly comprised of shitty ports. Except for Galaxy, I guess. I mean, it was okay. Nintendo's also silently killed off Nintendo Selects by just not doing it anymore. For example, Breath of the Wild is still $60 after 8 years. Oh, and if you didn't pick it up on Switch 1, well, I guess you're shit out of luck, buddy. $70. $10 for each year since the game came out, buddy. At this point, the jokes really do write themselves. I can't help it. But let's jump all the way ahead to the Switch 2. The Switch 2 Direct was promising. It showed off a ton of cool games, but for those paying attention, the only new exclusive that would drop on day one is Mario Kart World. Also, for those paying attention, the price wasn't revealed. It's a bit worrying, but I'm sure it's okay, right? I'm sure it's not that bad, right? What is it? $350? $400, okay? $500 fucking dollars! Now, I know people are already saying, well, actually, it's $450, and I'd agree, yes, technically it is only $450. But if you want the only Switch 2 exclusive, and you want a Switch 2 for $450, then you're gonna need another $80. So you can pay $50 for Mario Kart, or $80. So I think the only obvious bundle option is to just pick the $500 bundle that comes with the only Switch 2 game. On top of that, they launched GameCube emulation with the Switch 2, and it's actually exclusive to the Switch 2, which is kind of confusing when you consider that the Switch 1 was able to run Mario Sunshine just fine. But I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy. Besides that, again, Nintendo continues the trend of having completely subpar emulation. It's a complete repeat of the N64 emulation. It runs at only 900p, doesn't let you choose if you'd like to run at native resolution. It has measurable input lag again, just like N64 emulation. It's missing Game Boy Advance link cable support. Now, I'm not exactly sure how they would add GBA support, but we know Switch 1s and 2s can connect pretty easily, and I don't see why you can't just use your old Switch 1 as a GBA. But again, maybe I'm just an idiot! So, a little wrap up here. Let me get this straight. Number 1, Nintendo has continued to be outclassed by fans working for free in their free time. Nintendo has inched the price up of games even further to $80. Nintendo has removed or toned down any kind of price-saving deals or clearance-type sales like Nintendo Selects or My Nintendo Gold coins, and even now, game vouchers. Nintendo has slapped on shitty emulators to their already underwhelming online services to drive up the price even further, and they drove up the price of their console to a stupid degree as well. And I don't even mean the Switch 2. I mean the Switch 1. Think about it. Almost all of Nintendo's previous consoles were sold on clearance sales for cheaper after years had passed. For example, the Wii, GameCube, DS, 3DS, or literally any of Nintendo's consoles besides the Wii U and the Switch. It's a clear message to consumers that you guys are still paying for it, so we'll continue to shit in your mouth. And I feel the sentiment that that's Nintendo's new mantra. They continue to shovel subpar products in our face, and people lap it up and will go to the ends of the earth and back to defend it. And look, I'm not against people buying things that they want, but really, going to bat for the GameCube emulation on Switch 2 is just incredibly telling. You don't think it's good, you're just desperately trying to justify the purchase. And I mean, that's just sad. Look y'all, I've purchased Nintendo products before. I got a Switch Lite sitting right over here. And I can still sit here and admit that, hey, it's a somewhat shitty product when it comes to a lot of the being able to actually buy and play games on it. It's quite shit. So, no, I'm not making this video to attack people who bought the Switch 2. Look, if you got money like that and you get that bread, go ahead and get it. I didn't feel the need to get one. What does it offer to me? A new Mario Kart game that I'm going to play for maybe 20 hours and drop, and GameCube emulation that is beaten by a fan emulator. Huh. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? So yes, I'm not making this video out of hate for Nintendo fans, people who spend money on Nintendo products, or even Nintendo themselves. I just wish Nintendo was better and returned to their old ways of operation, putting the goodwill of the consumer, the customer, as their top priority. Because I think, honestly, ever since the passing of Iwata, things have only gotten shittier. Take that for what it is. And again, I'm going to invoke, just like in my first video, I'm going to invoke the Hot Diggity Demon video.
When I was a kid, I used to think you were cool.
Hey, but if you like the video, make sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. And, you know, if you have something to say, drop it down in the comments. I love the feedback, even if it's negative. Look, if you think I'm short-sighted, if you think I'm a goober, let me know. I'm curious, okay? Because, look, maybe I missed something. Maybe I got it all wrong. Thanks for watching. See ya.